Hey, welcome new sponsors to the show, Cases and Rugged Gear Outfitters in El Cajon. And if you need a case to protect and transport your firearms, Cargo is the place to go. They got cases for your pistols, rifles, shotguns, and a whole lot more. And when I say more, that includes cases for your photo gear, drones, audio. Hey, if you need a case, they got it. Even watches. And if you need a case for something special, just bring it to this store at 423 Broadway in El Cajon, or you can visit them on the website at cargosstores.com.
Yeah, Cargo's very cool. If you haven't been yet, check them out. They're in El Cajon, and they do all kinds of custom work, like Dave was saying, like your cases and whatnot. But then their retail side has a bunch of cool stuff.
They do.
What'd you buy, Alisha?
So they have a whole, it's more than just a case shop, I have to say.
Yeah.
So yes, cases might be what they specialize in, but they have a whole myriad of other, almost like, if you're into homesteading, if you're into survivalist stuff, if you're into just simply self-sustainability, they have a whole plethora of things. They have a whole system to freeze dry food, so you can make your own like survival stuff without paying out the nose to the companies that provide it. So.
It's actually, like, I would call it hurricane preparedness stuff.
Yeah.
Or not hurricane. I was going to say...
Camp enthusiast? Do you want to backpack?
Camp enthusiast.
Yeah.
But we see what's going on the East Coast with hurricanes, and we have earthquakes.
Yeah, they have a water filtration system as well.
I know people kind of, chuckle at the idea of a prepper, but you got to be prepared, man. You got to be able to... I don't care where you are. I don't care what natural disaster you do or don't have. I don't care where in the country you live. I don't care if you're urban, rural, city, whatever. I think you got to be able to stay in your house for a week, minimum. Like you got to have enough stuff in your house to lock the door and stay in there for 1 week. I think that's minimum. Like that's just being a responsible adult.
I'd like to say a month at a minimum, personally, but I get what you're. Yeah,
I think
they should nickname themselves the Prepper's Paradise.
Yeah, really. I think a week is like you should be able to do a week without thinking.
Right.
A month is like a trip to Cargo and maybe a trip to Costco.
Yeah. Yep.
And you should be. It just doesn't make any sense if you can't. Like I said, you're just not a responsible adult. I mean, it's like jumper cables in your car, or I don't know what else, Dave. What's something that you should keep in your car? Jumper cables and
you should have jumper cables. You should have a
first aid kit,
battery, some kind of a battery backup system to keep your phones charged up. It wouldn't hurt to have a small solar panel.
Yeah, if
they have those too.
If you're not sure what you would do if you need public assistance. I mean, look what's going on in North Carolina.
Yeah,
FEMA and all, it's a disaster. It's a tragedy. It's a true tragedy. So anyway, visit Cargo. Those guys are awesome. They're sponsors of the show now, and I'm so happy. But their cases are very cool. Okay, so Q&A. We got some Q&A here, guys.
By the way, while you're queuing that up,
yeah,
they even have custom laser cut foam, so you can personalize it and have stuff printed on the foam.
Yeah,
cool.
Like a logo or your name or whatever. Okay, is it legal? First question, is it legal in California to buy a used gun that comes with magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, provided that the former owner purchased this during Freedom Week? So they're asking, they want to know, hey, I'm going to buy whatever. Let's say it's just a Glock 19. I'm going to buy a Glock 19. And the guy selling it to me, it's a private party transfer. They have 15-round magazines, and they bought them during Freedom Week. Can you? The question is, can you buy the used gun? But what they really mean is, can you buy the whole kit and caboodle? Can you buy the gun and the mags? You can buy every single piece of that. By the way, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Anything I say is not a substitute for a properly licensed California attorney. You can buy the gun, you can buy the holster, you can buy the light, you can buy the optic, you can buy everything except the magazine. You cannot purchase a magazine that holds more than 15 rounds. 10 rounds. Ooh, thank you. You cannot purchase a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds. You cannot sell a magazine in California that holds more than 10 rounds. You can't. It can't be a gift.
Can't gift it. Yeah, you can't transfer it.
Exactly. Can't transfer it. Can't take possession of it. So answer is unfortunately no.
It's 10 rounds. 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 10 rounds
The answer is unfortunately no for the magazines. But hang in there. You got the Duncan case. You got all kinds of lawsuits that are coming up. I think it'll only be a matter of time. And, of course, you can buy magazines that are 10 rounds for just about anything. The other thing you can do is you can always buy replacement parts for your magazine. So if you have a 10-round magazine and you buy replacement parts for it, not an entirely assembled magazine, but there's nothing against buying replacement parts for it. And maybe those replacement parts turn it into a 15-round magazine. There's no law against that. There's no law against that. I don't know if I'd push my luck, though, to be honest with you. I run into people all the time who think they're smarter than the system and they try to get away with it, and then they call me and say, "Hey, I need an attorney." So, so there you go. Is it legal in California to buy a used gun that comes with magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, provided the former owner purchased this during Freedom Week? The answer is you can buy everything except the magazines. You cannot purchase the magazines. You can purchase the gun. You can purchase everything that comes with it. Okay, CCW. What's the first step for renewal? Now, if you go to sdcgo.org/CCW, we have a lot of information it has to do with CCWs. And it's got links, and it shows you basically how to get the initial done. But we don't really have a whole lot of information on renewals, and that's my fault. We really should. But long story short about renewals is about 30 days prior. Is that still the feedback you're getting?
It's currently 45.
Okay, 45 days prior. What you want to do is go take the class first.
Correct.
Book the class. And for a renewal, it is a full 8-hour class. So wherever you go, check out our website. We got a bunch of shops that offer, or go with whoever you took the class with last time, whatever. But you take an 8-hour class. Don't take a 7-hour class. Don't take a 7.5-hour class. Don't take a 6-hour class. Take an 8-hour class. It has to be 8 hours. That's state law. So that's step one. Take the 8-hour class. Get the certificate. And then follow the links on the website. Go to not Permidium anymore, but go to the sheriff's website, and they have
CCW Pro.
CCW Pro. It's their software that they came up with. And it's arguably smoother, and it makes them more efficient. If it makes them more efficient, I'm all in favor of it. I don't know. I don't know if it's that much smoother. I mean,
one thing I like about it is having been in the old system and seeing the new. I kind of like Permidium. You basically could upload. You could initiate processes. You could initiate an application. You could initiate getting a duplicate or modification, and you would have a login to get back to that application or that process that you initiated. CCW Pro actually allows you to have like a profile. It allows you to have a base home where you can see all your data that's in there. What guns are on your current permit? Who do they have as your employee? You can see all of your stuff, and you can see what needs to be modified or changed. Permidium didn't allow that.
I think it's definitely a more sophisticated program.
Yeah. And if you haven't already created a profile in CCW Pro, even if you're not up for renewal, go in there and do that now, because it takes time. Because you submit your application, or you submit your profile in CCW Pro, you got to create it, and then you have to wait for it to be approved before you can take any action.
Right. So what you mean is go get a username and a password.
Correct.
So just go in there, set up a username and a password, and all they do is they link your information to their files, right? And that's all they're doing.
Yeah, and they ask you a few questions. You have to put in your name, your address, your phone number, your email, that kind of stuff. They ask you a couple questions with the profile. Do you have a current permit? What is that permit number? And then then you're right. Then they link it.
So there you go. There's your 2 Qs and your 2 As for the week.
Gun laws are confusing, and let me tell you, it's that way by design. There are so many that is overwhelming for both law-abiding people and businesses. So who do you turn to for guidance? The answer is John Dillon. Not only is John one of the attorneys on critical gun right cases like Miller versus Bonta, but he was a featured speaker at this weekend's Gun Rights Policy Conference. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Puts his name on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon, California firearms lawyer, 760-642-7150.
So we were just talking about the Reagan movie. Do we want to talk about that real quick or no?
Sure, go for it.
So you guys didn't see it yet, but you're looking forward to seeing it, right?
I hope so.
I got to see it myself.
What were your thoughts, Brendan?
Basically, if you want a movie that it does point to point to point in Reagan's life, this is the movie for you. I wish I had a more
like a
story-wise of Reagan. And there's a documentary called Reagan that's out there that's like 3 hours long, but you get a better perspective of his personality and how well-rounded of a person he was, besides, oh, he did this thing, then he did this thing, and then he did this thing. That's my biggest complaint about the movie, is that I know what he did, but why did he make those decisions? Why did he decide to put this policy in there? Why did he decide to marry his wife at that time, and so on and so forth? But I didn't get that.
Yeah, I think if you're that's one thing I got to tell you. If you go in looking for a documentary, this ain't it. This is not a documentary. They took all the things about his life. They really focused in on how did he get rid of the Soviet Union, and they gave him a ton of credit, well deserved, for beating the Soviet Union. But here's how I describe the movie, Brendan, and you tell me, because I just thought of this while I was talking to Alisha. It was like it wasn't a Christian movie, and there wasn't a lot of religious talk in the movie. But it was like watching a movie. It was the same way as, like I was saying, you ever listen to like a Christian heavy metal band, and you kind of go, it's got the guitars, it's got the riffs, it's got the everything. I can't
tell you how many times I drive like in like rural America, and then I switching the channels. I'm like, hey, this sounds pretty good, and then all of a sudden all the Jesus loves, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. There's just it was something off. It's Christian heavy metal is different enough from metal, and it's hard to describe. And that's this movie to regular movies. There was something about it. It was a little campy, a little saccharine. Sweet.
I will say I kind of lowered my expectations right at the beginning, seeing how much makeup was on Dennis Quaid and John Voight to make them look so young. I'm like, how many pounds of makeup did they need to put on those guys?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Okay, so that's the Reagan movie. By the way, I would recommend people see it. I'm definitely not John Petrolino. I would go with you to that movie any day. So I would definitely not discourage people from seeing the movie. See the movie, enjoy. I mean, I got to tell you, Reagan did a lot of great things, and the way he beat the Soviet Union, he deserves a ton of credit. So go see the movie. But just I don't know, just don't. It's not gonna. It's not. It's like the Beetlejuice of presidential movies. It's just a little too.
Mike is in the chat room and he has a question. I'm kind of curious myself.
All right, fire away.
He asked, did they give, was there any addressing of the whole topic of carry rights? Was there anything discussed? Anything gun
as far as guns?
Yep.
Didn't talk about guns at all. Zero talk about guns. They did talk about Iran-Contra. And I got to tell you, I'm a fan of Reagan. I'm not in love with him. I'm not a sycophant. I'm not a Reagan sycophant, but like a lot of people on the right are just worship the guy. I don't worship the guy, but he did a lot of good things. I felt like they handled the Iran-Contra thing with kid gloves. I mean, it was really, really like, well, it wasn't his fault. Okay. Even though everybody around him, did something bad, even in the face of them all doing something bad, Reagan still was a champion, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It seems a little, One thing that was interesting, though, is there was a guy in the beginning of the movie, and Mike White, let me know in the chat if you remember this. There was a guy at the beginning of the movie who camped out on his lawn, and just to meet him back when he was governor, and they referred to him as Dana. And every time they brought a new character into the movie, they would say, "Hey, this is so and so, and this is their title or whatever." They'd tell you who it is. They do like a little, they put it up on the screen and tell you who this person is. They didn't tell you who this person was. They just kept calling him Dana, and Dana was this hippie conservative guy. And Dana turned into a speechwriter, and Dana was a big part of the of some of the things that Reagan said, including like, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. That was a really good impression of Reagan, by the way. I just pulled that right out of my and that was really good. So the funny thing is, it looks like, and by the description, it's got to be Dana Rohrabacher, who was up in Orange County. He was a congressman, Dana Rohrabacher, and he was right-wing Republican. He was, very right-wing in every way, except where he differed from the Republican Party is he was very pro-pot, and I think he actually works for like a pot company now in retirement after he left Congress. I really truly wonder why they didn't give him full credit.
Interesting.
They just kept calling him Dana.
Wonder if there's some kind of agreement or contract, or if it was a request that he had.
I am dying to know. I spent about 2 weeks after I saw the movie calling Dana Rohrabacher to see if I could get him on the show to see if I could get a response. But I never returned the phone call. So I don't know what's going on. I know his wife posted on social media that, hey, this is a great movie, and it showed what a big part of Reagan's legacy my husband Dana was, and so it's got to be him, right? But I just wonder why they decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to give him full credit. We're not going to call him Dana Rohrabacher. We're not going to tell this full story and whatever. My other guess is that it's not anything weird or nefarious. It's that they kind of did that thing that they did in Moneyball, where they had one character, but he represented about 10 characters in the story. Mm-hmm. What's the heavyset guy in Moneyball? Not Brad Pitt, but the actual genius that ran all the numbers. That guy represented about a dozen people.
Yeah.
And so my other guess is that they lumped out that Dana represented, it was like 80% Dana and 20% 10 other people.
Like creative license to kind of alter things.
Rather than introduce you to 57 people or whatever, that's my guess. That's my best guess, because he never ran from Reagan's legacy. In fact, he got elected on it. He was a big part of it. So anyway, that's the Reagan movie. So no mention of guns. Yeah, that's one of the things I don't like about Reagan is he, during his time as governor, did some things that were not good for gun owners. During his presidency, he was endorsed by the NRA. I'm all about second chances. I think that if you're an activist, the whole point of what we're doing is to try to get people who are on the fence or against you to agree with you. So if the NRA got Reagan to, really sign on to gun rights and showed him the problems, great. I think Reagan was the first person that the NRA endorsed ever. I don't know if you knew that. Somebody could fact check me on that, I suppose, but I'm pretty positive you don't have to fact check me on it. Pretty positive that's true. But I don't remember anything really he did in the 80s that was anti-gun. In fact, Wayne LaPierre, that was when he was a lobbyist for NRA ILA, and they actually put in place some protections for FFLs. So that was a good thing. I don't remember how involved Reagan was in that. But then after he got out, after 1988, after he was the president, Reagan did write a letter supporting an assault weapons ban, quote unquote. And of course, not real happy with that idea. So I don't know, kind of a mixed bag with Reagan. Certainly could have been better. Definitely could have been worse. But I'm not somebody that just kind of worships at his altar. I think he was extremely funny. He was extremely effective. I think he was exactly what the United States needed in the 80s, and he nailed it. He knocked it out of the park. I think a lot of the criticism that he was given as president was bogus, but I don't think he got as much credit for the things that he did do right. And that's why that's one thing I really did like about the movie is they said, hey, look, we had a communist superpower that was invading its neighbors, and without really firing a shot, he beat the Soviet Union. And I mean, it really truly was him. It wasn't a matter of circumstances. It didn't just happen, and he happened to be at the helm. Reagan really truly took that bull by the horns and made it happen, and I thought that was amazing. And he did it. He had a little bit of help. Like you can watch like Charlie Wilson's War. Did you see that movie, Dave? Charlie Wilson's War with Tom Hanks. Yeah. Good movie. Yeah, I mean, so he had some, there was some help there, but that was his administration and that was his objective, and he did it really, really well. So that's the Reagan movie. But Dave, you said it's not in the theaters anymore?
I looked about a week ago, and it was only on one time during the week in El Cajon. So I haven't looked.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just got like a hair. I got a wild hair, and decided to go. I never go see movies, but I was like, you know what, Mike, if you want to see this thing, you better go now. So I went. I was the only person in the movie theater, which is the only time that's ever happened. I was the only person in the movie theater, and I was just sitting there alone with my
popcorn,
with my Dr. Pepper. So
it reminds me of when I was in North Dakota, of all places, to watch a movie, and I was all by myself with my grandfather, and it's an action film, mind you. And during like the quiet scenes when you just finished up the big action scenes, I can hear my grandfather next to me going. Thanks. By the way, I did look it up. Only a couple of showings are left, but yes, it's still being shown in theaters, but it's like very few and far between like 11:45 and 2:20 p.m. right now.
It's just in time to go home for supper, Dave.
And what was that movie you just seen?
The one with his grandpa?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Transformers.
Nice.
Yeah.
More than meets the eye. More than meets the eye. Okay, so anyway, that's the Reagan movie. We didn't expect to talk about it, but I'm glad we did. I am glad I went and saw it, and it is at least entertaining, but it is a little campy. It's a little campy.
I can do that.
It's kind of a little. So next, we're going to talk about in the next segment. We're going to actually talk. I want to talk about something that's going on in Coronado with their local government, and it'll take about 3 minutes. It's not a big deal, but it's kind of interesting. And then we're going to talk about some unfortunate things, like Gavin Newsom signing some anti-gun bills into law. And then I want to talk about some statistics that the antis use that have to do with children and death, which I think is enormously ghoulish that they do that. So we're going to talk about it.
A lot of gun owners complain about California's horrible gun laws, but if gun owners voted, then we wouldn't have these horrible gun laws. Make sure your voice is heard. This November, your vote makes a difference in city and county elections. Your vote has the most impact. That's why we need your help to get more Pro-2A officials elected. Get the San Diego County Gun Owners Voter Guide and help get pro-gun officials elected. Download it at SanDiegoCountyGunOwners.org/voter guide. Get it today and share it with a friend.
Yep, Voter Guide's up, SDCGO.org/voter guide, or if you're in Orange County, check out OCGunOwners.com/voter guide. Or if you're in Inland Empire, go to InlandEmpireGunOwners.com/voter guide. The voter guide is up, and we could use your help. Go to the volunteer section, help us distribute that voter guide by signing up for a gun shop tabletop. That is enormously effective. So please commit to doing that. We're like a month away. We are a month away from an election. 30 days. Well, might be a little different than 30 days. Is it 30 days? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be like 32 days. 32 days.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a month. It's like a baker's month. You know, like they have a baker's dozen. It's 13. Well, it's 32 days. It's a baker's month. So, hey, so over the weekend, I'm flipping through Facebook. And you know how every city's got like a city council gadfly. They have like 4 or 5 people that are like, that's their personality, is what's going on in the city council, and everything's horrible and everything's dramatic and everything. Like, that's their life. Like, that's their source of entertainment and drama. So I'm flipping through, and in my feed is like a group for Coronado, and there's, you know, I don't know how many, there's a few thousand people in this group, and there's this guy who I'm not even going to name. I had never heard of him. I don't know who he is, but he had like a series of posts that were like this, you know, sinister plot to take over Coronado that included San Diego County gun owners. And I'm just like, who is this guy and what is he talking about? You know, the funny thing is, one of the reasons I decided to open a PAC, you know, rather than a 501c3 or a 501c4 or a corporation or whatever, one of the reasons I opened a PAC, a political action committee, is there's no hiding in a PAC. You have to disclose everything. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't take cash. You got to know every little move we make has to be reported to the government. I mean, if you're going to do some kind of weird conspiracy or buy off or whatever, don't do it through a PAC. You're definitely going to get caught. because the every move is accounted for. The government has an eye on PAC, so everything's above board with a PAC. I don't know exactly what it is he thinks we're up to or what we are doing, but here's the deal. There's a guy named John Duncan who's running for Coronado mayor, and he's on the city council. I hadn't really heard of John Duncan before a couple of months ago. John Duncan was on the city council, and looking back, he apparently came to some of our functions. I think he was at Gun Prom, and he was a member, but I hadn't met him. I mean, I really hadn't met him. I don't know exactly. I've never sat down and had lunch with him or anything. And this guy in Coronado was drawing a connection between San Diego County gun owners and John Duncan and then some other megachurch. I don't understand who the megachurch is or how they fit in, but he showed a picture of San Diego County gun owners logo at a function at the church. Apparently a few years ago, we had a booth at they had a festival. And so they were like, hey, anybody want to come? And, so we had a booth there. So now we're in cahoots with this mega church, and John Duncan is somehow involved. Now, here's the funny thing. We didn't endorse John Duncan. He's not on our voter guide. You can go to sdcgo.org/voter guide and see there is no John Duncan on our voter guide. I reached out to him multiple times. He did not return my phone call. So they're like, I'm like, go ahead, don't vote for him. I mean, hell, if he doesn't win, you're going to do me a favor. I'm going to get to go to him and say, hey, you know what? Without our help, you didn't win, your race for mayor. So by all means. But it's the weirdest thing. He doesn't exactly throw out clear accusations. It's just kind of this innuendo and connection, and I'm so tired of it. The left is really good at that. The right, you're no slouch. You guys do your conspiracy theories too. I mean, but I think the left's conspiracy theories are far more mainstream. People accept it, and they turn them mainstream. Whereas the right's conspiracy theories are like chemtrails, where you get a couple of wackos that, chemtrails are poisoning the atmosphere. Okay, whatever, But the left, they take their conspiracy theories and they mainstream them. And people just like, oh, yeah, yeah, you're right. This guy's a bad person because they shook hands with somebody at some point. I don't know. It's the funniest thing, though. The HOA. Well, it is an HOA. So that's the thing. Coronado City Council, you're about a half a step above an HOA. It's not like all the houses are built there, all that. There's no new construction there's nothing going on there. They're just kind of maintaining paradise is really all they're doing over there. So it's a lot of issues on paved roads and parking and, and can I put can I put a shack in my backyard for my lawnmower? I mean, nobody's taking over the world via Coronado City Council.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, so I want to tell you about that. Okay, so let's move on to, there are actually 17 new gun laws. Well, more accurately, there are 17 new laws. There are a bunch of new laws that Gavin Newsom signed. 17 of them have to do with firearms. And I can't go over all 17 of them. A lot of them are things like, raising prices and are increasing prices and increasing penalties and that sort of thing. So I'm going to try as we go. I'm going to try to just talk about one here and there so you guys can absorb it better. They don't all go into effect at the same time. So we have a little bit of time here. I don't know what lawsuits are coming yet. I'm sure a lot of these are going to be challenged. I'm sure a lot of them aren't going to be challenged. And I got to tell you, that's one thing about, our push for voting. Voting and getting the right person into office is the ounce of prevention rather than the pound of cure, because there are a lot of gun laws that are going to make it to the books that are not going to be found unconstitutional. So we can't sue our way out of every single gun problem. So anyway, all right. So 17, what was that?
Oh, just because I got my pen and paper ready to take notes.
Okay, well, this one is SB 53 did pass. SB 53 is one of the 17 laws that involves firearms. And this one's probably the most direct and easiest for people to understand. It doesn't take effect until 2026. So you don't have to worry about it for a year and a few months, year and a third or whatever. But basically, this is the storage restriction that we've all feared, that we've been fighting against in La Mesa, that certain cities have passed, like Del Mar, some of the anti-gun cities. So they took this storage restriction and made it statewide. So what it means is, and it's kind of weird because before I talk about what it means, how it's structured, the Heller case back in 2008, that was the first really big Second Amendment Supreme Court case, pretty much ever, since there was actually another Miller case back in the 30s that addressed Second Amendment. But the big, hey, this is the meaning of the Second Amendment, was the Heller case in 2008. And it was about gun storage, because Washington, D.C., in your house, you could not store your gun unless it was inoperable or locked away. You couldn't do it. So that was pretty clear cut that storage law was unconstitutional. Now, here's the thing. They're saying, well, ours is a little different. Ours is slightly different, and it's which makes all the difference in the world because it's different. The storage law on the state level, basically, if you can store it in your house fully functional as long as you're touching it, or if you're within arm's length of it.
So that's what you're saying. That's what SB 53 states.
That's what SB 53 is. So if you're not in control of it, which means you pretty much,
so you're carrying it on you,
or it's within arm reach. If it's not within so if let's say you leave it on the nightstand, and you go brush your teeth. Well, you just broke the law. If you take it off and put it on your chest of drawers, and you go to the bathroom, you just broke the law.
So this is irregardless of whether you have no minors or prohibited persons in the home is irrelevant. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly right. So Right now you can't store guns in a way that kids have access to it.
Correct.
So if you got little rugrats running around your house,
or prohibited persons in the home,
right, and you can't just leave your gun around.
Right.
That's illegal.
Correct.
And I got to tell you, we've never pushed back on that.
Right.
We've never. I'm not saying that we support it. We haven't taken a position on it. But and the reason I bring that up is, remember that every time the anti-gunners say that we don't compromise, name a restrictive gun law that they've been against, the anti-gunners. Name a gun law that they said, hey, you know what, this one goes too far. They embrace everything, whereas, we're like, hey, whatever, CCWs, okay, that's a gun law. We'll teach you how to get a CCW. We're the reasonable ones, not them. So this, in 2026, what'll happen if there's no lawsuit and there's no injunction, because of a lawsuit, if this thing proceeds, is basically if in your house, even if you have no kids, you have no prohibited people in your house, you will be required to keep your gun locked or inoperable unless it's within arm length. Basically, unless you're touching it or are able to touch it.
So locked.
Yep.
No, unless I missed it, I was taking notes and I might not have been listening every moment. Loaded versus unloaded. If locked,
it's both loaded or unloaded.
As long as
your
it's
gun
locked.
either has to be locked up, it has to be secured, or it has to be in basically in pieces, right? So it's inoperable.
Okay.
So that's SB 53 that passed, unfortunately. Readily controlled, by the way, is the key word. It has to be readily controlled, and it is a misdemeanor. But a gun misdemeanor in California, you could lose your gun rights. You could lose a lot. I mean, they almost treat it like a felony. So, unfortunately, SB2, they got biased. Anyway, that's the only bad news I think I have for you the whole show. So there it is.
Hey, if you want tactical gear at an affordable price, check out Condor Outdoors. Whether you're a military professional, law enforcement officer, or simply an avid outdoorsman, Condor products are designed to be versatile, durable, and above all, reliable. So if you're looking for the best in tactical gear, look no further than Condor Outdoor. Use code GOR for a 15% off on the website CondorOutdoor.com. Use GOR for a 15% discount.
Hey, so I just got a text from one of our board members, John Becker. A lot of you may know John. He's extremely active. He said he just finished up a tabletop at the Ramona Motorcycle Rally. This was a 2-day event and was great fun. We spoke to a lot of people about CCWs and SDCGO, but the main focus was getting voter guides out. We handed out about 50 or so guides, got a couple new members, 3 pages of email signups. Let's see. Big thanks to Frank for volunteering, and Tyler and Angela. Thank you, Angela, Frank, and Tyler. It really helped having SDCGO members of the organizer. It really helped having an SDCGO member as the organizer of this event. I guess the motorcycle rally was the organizer was a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. He placed our booth in a really good location and did not charge. Thank you guys. That means a lot. The bands were awesome. The bikes were even better. I'm tired, but I have a smile on my face. You said a friend of yours?
Yeah, a friend of mine. Yeah, a friend of mine came up to me this morning. He was like, "Hey, I just saw with some of your buddies out there at the motorcycle thing." I'm not a motorcycle person, so I'm not sure the lingo there.
I'm not either, but I'm glad. Okay, so we all hear that we've heard that they keep throwing around this statistic that guns are the number one death of children, and that's horrible. Nobody wants anybody to die from gunfire. Even bad guys, but it is lethal force, and and that's and it should be respected. But obviously, nobody likes the idea of a child dying from gunfire. But the reality is, there are statistics. Excuse me, there are lies, there are damn lies, and there are statistics. And they are using these statistics, they are abusing these statistics to make it sound like something is going on that is not going on. Now, why is that important? Well, gee, Mike, whether one child dies or many children die of guns, why is it important? It's the fact is people are dying and they're kids and their guns are involved. So why is it important? It's important because what they're doing is they're saying, hey, here's the solution. We're going to ban guns or whatever. We're going to lock guns up like they just did in SB 53. Mm-hmm. Because kids are getting access to guns and they're dying. Well, that's not what's going on. What's going on? What's up?
So I'm sorry. I know I'm preaching the choir. So the whole argument of we're making them safer, it's already a freaking law. So if there's youth in the house, the home, they're supposed to already be locked. How is this law?
How's it going to help? Yeah. But even more so, that's not even the problem. Right. I mean, it makes so they're trying to make it sound like little Johnny, 5-year-old Johnny, is going and finding a gun and shooting his friend or whatever. And I'm not saying that never happens. You need to secure. You are responsible for your firearm. But the reason the statistics are high, but they're not as high as what they're saying, is a whole different reason. And I wanted to talk about this. Is an article. This is a fact check from Breitbart. Kamala Harris falsely claims guns are number one killer of children. While introducing executive action for more gun control Thursday night, Vice President Kamala Harris claimed that guns are the number one killer of children. President Joe Biden first made this claim on June 2nd, 2022. Breitbart News pointed out that it was false then, and it is false now, even though numerous Hollywood leftists and Democrat politicians have repeated it ad nauseum. When Biden originally made this claim, he said, quote, guns are the number one killer of children, end quote. His claim, which is the same claim Harris is now making, is only true if you count 18 and 19-year-olds as children. Now, that's the heart of the matter. These statistics are doing a couple of things. It depends on which you see, or which statistic, which study you're actually paying attention to. Some of them remove 0 to 1. So they take out kids 0 to 1. Why is that significant? Well, it's significant because as much progress as we've made in the last 150 years when it comes to child mortality, or at birth, 150 years ago, a significant number of kids died at birth, far more than do today.
Right.
200, 300, 400 years ago, surviving birth was a bigger deal or I should say a bigger problem than it is now because of technology, because of medical field, et cetera, et cetera. But still, a number of kids don't survive their first year, don't even survive birth. So if you take those statistics out, it just lends to painting the picture that guns are a bigger problem than they are.
Right. It skews the data.
Absolutely skews the data. The other end of it is including 18 and 19-year-olds. Those aren't kids.
Right.
That's not little Johnny finding a gun, and oops, shooting his friend. On May 26, 2022, Fox News noted that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, not exactly a pro-gun, organization, figures showed firearms-related deaths of people ages 0 to 19 totaled 4,368 in 2020, while motor vehicle deaths for the same age range totaled 4,036. So like 300, 250, 300 less. However, Breitbart News did a custom search on the CDC numbers, limiting the category of children to those 0 to 17 years, those between voting age, and the data completely flipped. The number of firearms-related deaths for children aged 0 to 17 was 2,281 in 2020.
Wow. Less than half.
Yeah, well, the number of motor vehicle deaths for the same age was 2,503. Well, doing the research, Breitbart News noted that even in the expanded age range of 0 to 19, CDC numbers showed unintentional motor vehicle deaths were 27 times higher than unintentional firearms-related deaths. The claim was false when Biden made it in 2022, and it's false when Harris makes it now. This was, by the way, AWR Hawkins, who's a good friend of the show and a fantastic guy, and this appeared on Breitbart, but I think it also appeared in AWR's work that he does too, and you can find him on. He's got a website. He's all over the place. AWR Hawkins is absolutely fantastic. So all right, so why is this significant? Why do we care? What am I talking about here? So the reality is, the gun deaths really across the board are professional criminals killing usually other professional criminals. That's the problem. If you look at the actual problem in America of gun violence, which is no pun intended, but it's a loaded term. When they complain about the deaths that are included in what's considered gun violence, you're looking at, of course, there's a lot of suicides, but you take out the suicides, what's left are criminals killing criminals. And, obviously, anytime you commit murder, it's a crime. So it's not like this is their first crime. These are career criminals. And the unfortunate and tragic thing is, a lot of people start their career as a criminal when they're 13, when they're 12, when they're 15. So when you include 15 to 19-year-olds in your data, you're including gang members. You're including people who are devastatingly poor. They're in an inner city. They had some kind of horrible upbringing. They live in a horrible neighborhood. They went to a horrible school. They probably only had one parent, if they're lucky. And what they felt was the only option for them was to be a career criminal like all the successful people that they see around them. It's not like they're surrounded by doctors, lawyers, CPAs, insurance salesmen. They're surrounded by other career criminals. And what happens is they obtain a firearm illegally, and they go on to be a career criminal as a child, as a 15-year-old, as a 16-year-old. So again, why is that important? Well, because a gun storage law isn't going to stop that. Mm-hmm. A gun storage law is for little Johnny who, is wandering around and he just learned to walk, and you got to make sure that your gun is secure. A gun storage law is not going to stop that. A ban on handguns isn't going to stop that. A ban on long guns isn't going to stop that. These are career criminals. These are career criminals committing crimes, and it's a social problem. The other side is a mental problem. It's a mental health problem. When someone commits suicide, that is not a gun problem. That is a mental health problem. When you have 15, 16, and 17-year-olds killing each other because that's what they do for a living, that is not a gun problem. That is a social problem. And I think it's an extremely important thing. It's important because, number one, they're restricting us They're making things harder for us when, we're not the problem. But the other thing is, there's a part of me that's extremely sensitive to this. There are people out there that are truly struggling, and rather than helping them with their struggles, they're using it to advance their anti-gun agenda, which I think is horrible. I think it's foolish. So anyway, I did see, by the way, I was watching. It was kind of funny. Speaking of, we can't fathom a handgun ban right now. Like, could you even imagine if Kamala was up there saying we're going to ban all handguns? That'd be political suicide, right? I mean, honestly, like any politician anywhere, even in the bluest part of California, if they said we're going to have a full-on, all-out, 100% ban on handguns, that would be political suicide, right?
Right.
So back in the early 90s, that's what they were going for.
Right.
And I actually saw, it was the guy from REM, Michael Stipe. I saw an old clip from him in 1991, and he was taking shirts off at the VMA Awards, and one of them would say, pro-choice, and one of them would say, register to vote, and the next one said, ban handguns.
Wow.
That was just a mainstream thing.
What was the response at the time?
Well,
I don't recall that.
Sure, at the time, I'm sure it had its fans, but the important part is a lot of activists did important work, and now it's political suicide, and we can do it again. We can do it on every single gun issue, and that's why it's important to educate and be active.
If you want to avoid expensive repair bills, make sure you get regular maintenance for your AC unit. The regular price for AC tune-ups ranges from $70 to $250. But guess how much it is for Gun Owner Radio listeners? Just $17.76.
$17.76?
Yeah, what a great number.
Yeah.
Right, listeners get Straight Shooter's 15-point tune-up for a ridiculously low price of $17.76. Now, why is the price so low? I'm sure you're wondering. Because they have a heart for the people in our community. Just straight up, honest service that you can trust. Call Straight Shooter Heating and Cooling today, 619-922-3937 for your 1776 AC tune-up. No bull, just cool. Or you can book online at straightshooter.ac. That's straightshooter.ac.
Go to straightshooter.ac right now while you're sitting there. Yeah, these guys are supporting us. Take advantage of that 1776. Even if you don't need it. I mean, it's not even $20, even if you're like, I think my AC or my heater or whatever is running fine. I mean, that 1776, getting them out there, having them take a look at it, and then thank them for being gun guys. Thank them for supporting Gun Owners Radio. It's important. These guys want to do business. They want to support a show, but they also, they got to put, they got to get clients. They need to make sure that they're going to get the support that they're giving. So please give them a call. Get on their website, straightshooter.ac. Get them out there and let's support these guys and say thanks. Not just for the 1776, but hopefully so that they can help you stay cool or stay warm, whichever season it is here in beautiful San Diego. Okay, subscribe and win. Subscribe to our email list and win some swag. This week's winner is Brad Greenberg. Brad, thank you so much. All you got to do is email prizes@gunownersradio.com and you'll be able to claim your t-shirt or your hat. If you want a t-shirt, Brad, be sure to tell us what size and, of course, tell us where to send everything, and that will just about ensure success. Lead Talks tomorrow, Mike Pettingill. So Lead Talks is every Monday at 7 p.m. If you go on Gun Owners Radio's YouTube channel or Facebook, we will interview a firearms instructor every Monday at 7 p.m. for free. And they're going to get to lecture you or talk about whatever they want to talk about, something that is particularly impactful to them. This is your opportunity to meet more instructors, whether you've never taken a class and are looking to find somebody good, or you've taken a bunch of classes and you're looking to find somebody new, or if you just want to be entertained on a Monday at 7 p.m., by all means, join us, Facebook, YouTube, and X, gunownersradio.com. Check us out there, or go to facebook.com /gunownersradio, or go to youtube.com/gunownersradio every Monday at 7. And tomorrow, of course, is our buddy Mike Pettingill. I don't remember what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about something cool, though. He always talks about something cool. Mike's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He really is. I got to tell you, that guy is he's really one of the good ones when it comes to instructors for the actual skill of instructing, communicating with people.
He has a natural talent too. I've seen him work with people. He has a sense, like, there are some people that just have a special talent. He can kind of work with you, talk with you, and then he just kind of gets a sense for what you need.
Yeah.
And he really is able to kind of see what's in the heart. What do you need?
Yeah.
And he has a gift for that.
Yep.
He's great.
He's awesome. He reminds me, there's two people he reminds me of. There's a comedian, I can't remember the dude's name. His voice kind of reminds me of this comedian. Oh, I'll have to think about who it is. He's got a little bit of a southern accent. I think his first name's Nate. Anyway, he kind of reminds me of him. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
And then he also kind of
my husband will text me here soon.
Yeah?
We watched Nate a lot. I just can't remember his
Nate
last name right now.
Berjulia or something like that.
Something like that.
And he also reminds me of Archer. His voice kind of reminds me of Archer. Which both are cool references, Mike Pettengill, if you're listening. Okay.
Bargatze.
Nate Bargatze.
That's it.
There you go. Okay, Intro to Modern Off-Grid Communications, only $250. It's on October the 19th. This is a class that's going to teach you about off-grid communications. Sign up at gunownersradio.com. Register by October 11th, and that guarantees you a programmed Baofeng radio. So you're going to actually get a radio out of this thing. If you pay the $250, if you register before October 11th, you are guaranteed a Baofeng radio. If you register after October 11th, we will arrange a one-on-one on getting you your radio, and you may get it after the class. But in order to actually get it and use it and learn about it in the class, register before October 11th. Students get an 11% discount on selected used guns and ammo thanks to American Shooters. American Shooters is out in El Cajon over by the
DMV.
By the DMV,
yep.
And by the Greek chicken place.
That's it.
Oh, that Greek chicken place is so good.
Yeah.
I'll happily give them a free plug.
Get lunch, go over there, do your class, buy a used gun on your way out the door. It's been a great day.
Yeah, and thank you to American Shooters. You guys are giving an 11% discount. 11% discount. So if you sign up, take the class, go to American Shooters, you're going to get 11% off selected used guns and ammo. Boy, 11% off ammo right now would be super, super helpful. I feel like things are tightening up when it comes to ammo. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Like it's getting like the availability.
Right.
And when the availability gets tight, prices go up.
Absolutely.
Seem to remember that in Econ 101.
Yep.
So, train with Masad Ayub. Oh, did you get to meet?
I did. I met him. I took a picture with him and everything.
Yeah. What a nice guy, huh?
Absolutely.
We've had him on the show. I can't really think, if you're thinking about like a trainer in the United States,
yep. He's the one.
He's the one.
He's the one. And I will tell you, sad to say, he's not going to be around, forever. Now, don't know how many more chances you're going to get.
I think that's a fair point. I don't know how many more chances you're going to get living here in San Diego to train with Masad Ayub.
That's it. I don't know how much longer he's going to be traveling for.
Yeah. I mean, eventually everybody's got to hang up their holster.
Yeah.
And, he's been around for forever. But I can't think of anybody else that's who would be his equal even? Who's in his category? I mean, there's a lot of, listen, as far as talent, whatever, there's a lot of great, but this guy's been around teaching, making mistakes and learning from them and showing people how to shoot for decades. Like my entire life he's been doing that.
I've heard a lot about Zelensky, but he's not been around nearly as long. Yeah, you're right.
The president of the Ukraine? Is that who you're talking about? Different
Zelensky.
Guy. Yeah. Different guy. Anyway, train with Masad Ayub. If we get enough interest, we'll set up a class in San Diego. Fill out the form on the Gun Owners Radio website. Click on Read at the top of the website, and it's the first post. So you go to gunownersradio.com, click on Read at the top of the website, and fill out the form. The form's just going to ask you a few questions. It's free. It's not going to ask you for any money. It's not going to ask you for a credit card.
Yeah, there's basically 3 different options that they're asking you to kind of choose where might your interest be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you answer it yet?
I did.
Where do your interests lie?
So essentially the way that it works is they're considering offering essentially a 2-part series, and you can choose, hey, I want to do all the parts. Hey, I want the whole enchilada, or I'm interested in just part 1 or part 2. They're calling it Mag 20 or a Mag 40. So the first half or the first portion is essentially going to be more about mindset. It's more classroom. It's going to be just just all the things that we do on the classroom side. And then the part 2 is going to be just that implementation of the live stuff on the range. So you can choose to do both bits and pieces, or you can kind of just pick one or the other.
I would imagine.
And there's law included in that classroom portion as well.
As an instructor, you're probably not so much going for the instruction as you are going to see the instruction. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, there's always different new ways to approach to teach people.
Yeah.
And, I learn the most by being a student. So, I still on a regular basis get out there and I work with somebody. I work with someone. I want them to break me down and to build me back up.
Wow.
And that's how I learn.
Well, I hope we get them out here.
Me too.
It's up to you guys, listeners. Go to gunownersradio.com, express interest, Masad Ayub, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Truly, I don't say that lightly. He really, truly is. I mean, you kind of say that tongue-in-cheek sometimes, but he really is the man, the myth, the legend. I mean, this guy's the number 1 spot on the Second Amendment, Mount Rushmore.
That's it.
Him, and then, I don't know, maybe John Petrolino is second.
I think that's a good. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Not Me is for women, by women, and is designed to help women with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It's free. If you are a woman or you know a woman who needs help, have her sign up, and we will give her the help that she needs. To sign up, just simply go to notmesd.org. That's it. That's it.
Good read.
Thanks.
Okay, so we had an event last week. We took over a movie theater down in Mission Valley with Reform San Diego. Thank you so much for partnering with us. And we watched the VP debate between, of course, Walz and Vance. And you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
I thought the event went really well, smooth.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Yeah, everybody seemed to be having fun.
Absolutely.
Hooping and hollering.
Oh yeah.
My old man was there.
That's it.
Yeah, my dad
He was
there.
a little taller than I expected him to be.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
He was taller?
Yeah. Oh, he was taller. Yeah, taller than I thought he'd be.
He used to be taller.
Really?
Yeah, like when I was 5, he was way taller. Like he shrunk about
a whole armful.
He shrunk like 2 feet since I was like 5, 6 years old. Yeah, he was in town. We had a good time. He wanted to go with his friend Linda and my old man. They came and had a good time and said everybody was super polite. Okay, so the debate was I just wanted to touch on a couple things because there's some very interesting pieces here. I wanted to show clear. I think Vance won.
Absolutely.
Anybody who says that Vance didn't win
didn't watch the debate,
or they're so hopelessly biased, And I admit, I watched the debate and kind of withheld judgment and really, really thought about it and then went back and watched some pieces.
Really?
I really kind of wanted to analyze it. Because in a debate, there's kind of 2 different pieces.
Right.
It's how well are you at the skill of debating, and then the actual subjects,
Does
where were you on
the poker face play a role in any of these?
100%. 100%. By the way, I think that, that unintentional, when he would kind of look at the camera, I think that was totally unintentional. I don't think he was actually giving a look, but man, people picked up on that. And there are definitely some things to criticize, some things that Vance did really, really well. And I think that the skill of debating, Vance knocked it out of the park, and Walz was not good. At the actual skill of debating. I think Walz tried to be relatable, and I think that he ended up I think at times did look very relatable and even likable.
I was going to say that's been his entire political campaign, basically. It's just I'm trying to be as,
Gee golly gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he had to keep reminding us that. And he would get so flustered, and you can just see it. He was frustrated and flustered.
So that's where I was going. Is that backfired on him? Like when you ask hard questions, you need to give answers.
Right.
That whole gee golly gosh, that's not going to work and there were some hard questions that he did not do a good job. And there's one thing I wanted to show you. Vance was polished in a way that was, hey, I've done this a lot. I'm capable. I'm skilled at this.
I saw that at the beginning. I didn't see that.
You felt it kind of towards the end?
Yeah, maybe a quarter way through that was gone for me.
But it was very much a kind of a professional polish. Whereas Walz
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Walz already. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Are you talking about Vance?
Vance.
I
Vance
apologize.
No.
I was flipping it. You're right. No, solid all the way through.
Yeah,
Vance.
solid all the way through in a professional way.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Polished in a professional way, which still comes across as sincere.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come across as used car salesman.
Right.
You know, it comes across as, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about, believes it, and is delivering it in a way that is professional and relatable, et cetera, et cetera. Walz was prepared in a bad way. He was polished in a bad way. Now, what does that mean? It means that the sincerity didn't come across, and the reason the sincerity didn't come across is he was not polished and prepared. He was memorized. Now, what do I mean by that? So, Brendan, play that clip with Walz on China.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17.
Stop. Okay. What he just did is he regurgitated something he memorized and then messed up the order in which he gave it. He said, I grew up in small rural wherever, and, I had to come home when the street lights came on, and I'm really proud of that service, and I served in the military. The I'm really proud of that service sentence should have come after the I served in the military sentence.
You're right.
And what that means, and this showed throughout his performance, that he was memorized. Everything was memorized, which, if you're wondering, if you sat there and watched him and really, really tried to, analyze it and be analytical about his performance, and were wondering, what is it about his performance that I don't really trust him? It just isn't coming across as sincere. This nailed it. This is why. Because everything he said was regurgitated from memory. They actually said, hey, when this comes up, say this, memorize it. So he had that whole thing memorized. Remember when you were like in a fourth grade play?
Learning the preamble?
Or whatever, yeah. You were like
it.
learning the Pledge of Allegiance and
Yeah.
learning the ABCs, and sometimes, D would come after X or whatever.
Learn the bits and pieces, and sometimes you mix them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that insincerity, and there was a lot he needed to talk about. There were some, the guy's outright lied about things.
Oh, he did. He should have just come clean. That would have been so much cleaner.
And the whole, gee golly, I'm just a whatever, and I'm a knucklehead didn't work.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Yeah.
And trying to memorize and then not being able to deliver didn't memorize. Now, let me show you an example of Vance. Here's how you handle an extremely difficult subject in a sincere, polished, professional way. Okay, so he's talking about abortion. Now, this isn't an abortion show, but golly, man, abortion is as controversial. People are as passionate on both sides as any issue out there. Abortion is like the granddaddy of all political issues. It is such a messy, difficult issue, and Vance was put on the spot. Walz was almost never put on the spot. Vance was put on the spot. And here's how he handled it. Go ahead and play the Vance on abortion.
I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood where I knew a lot of young women who had unplanned pregnancies and decided to terminate those pregnancies because they feel like they didn't have any other options. And, one of them is actually very dear to me. And I know she's watching tonight, and I love you. And she told me something a couple years ago that she felt like if she hadn't had that abortion, that it would have destroyed her life because she was in an abusive relationship. And I think that what I take from that as a Republican who proudly wants to protect innocent life in this country, who proudly wants to protect the vulnerable, is that my party, we've got to do so much better of a job at earning the American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies. I want to make it easier.
So I don't care where you stand on abortion. This isn't about abortion. This isn't where he stands on abortion, or it isn't about where he stands on abortion. It isn't about where Walz or anybody stands on abortion. Mm-hmm. What this is the best response I've ever heard anyone who's pro-life when questioned about the very difficult subject, very nuanced subject of abortion. Mm-hmm. This was the best response I've ever seen. Period. He just nailed it. I don't even know if I can't think of a response that comes in like a close second. And why? Why was it so good? Well, number one, he didn't pivot. He didn't avoid
the question.
Didn't avoid the question.
Mm-hmm.
What he did do is he formulated his whole foundation for his question was caring and fairness. He didn't say, well, statistics, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He didn't talk about his faith, because if you're trying to convince somebody who has no religion, or doesn't care where religions stand on the issue, then why would you relate to them on a sanctity level, right? Why would you do that? He didn't talk about the law. He did a little bit later on, but he really didn't. That wasn't the foundation of his question.
Right.
So he didn't appeal to authority, like, hey, this is the Constitution,
right.
Supreme Court. Because if they disagree with the Supreme Court, it's not going to convince them.
Yep.
What he did is he talked about caring. He cares about people. He cares about women. He cares about the vulnerable. And by the way, I forget the exact term he used. I think he said the vulnerable, which you can kind of project onto that whatever you think. The vulnerable could be the unborn child.
Right.
The vulnerable could be the woman.
Mm-hmm.
The vulnerable could be whatever. But you can project onto that whatever you see as vulnerable. Man, this was so perfectly done. There's not a person out there who, didn't, if they're sincere with themselves, didn't kind of feel that response. Like, wow, okay, this guy perfectly articulated the fact that, we need to do a better job in general. So one thing, anyway, I Vance won, hands down.
Absolutely.
There's just nobody, unless you're Rachel Maddow, who's just such a wacko extremist. You agree that Vance did a lot better. And very rarely does a vice presidential's performance actually help the candidate. They always say, hey, just don't hurt the candidate. Mm-hmm. But polls are showing that he may have helped a little bit.
Well, one of the opening portions of the debate, they actually brought up how in the past Vance has spoken against Trump and has disagreed with him. And I thought that Vance did a great job on explaining that. He kind of just cut that portion out as not being something that they can get him on. He was honest and clear. We don't always agree.
Right.
And he did a great job kind of, I think, navigating that.
So play the clip of Harris on Oprah.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun. I did not know that. If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Okay, stop.
Probably should not have said
She's a gun owner. If someone breaks into her house, they're going to get shot. I got to tell you, my first thought when seeing this, and it's not funny, my first thought when seeing this is, does your gun have a microstamp?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're the one that's making everyone. You're the one that basically created a handgun ban in California based on a microstamp. She is directly responsible for that.
Absolutely.
It's not that it happened on her watch. She did that.
She did.
And so does her gun have a microstamp?
Of course not.
I'll bet not, and because microstamps don't exist, number one. So why is she able to get away with that? I really think that this should be from the gun community. This should be the question. Hey, Vice President Harris, candidate Harris, did the gun that you want to shoot somebody with on Oprah, does it have a microstamp? Are you forcing other people to comply with some kind of law that's completely impossible to comply with, and you're not complying with it yourself, and you're laughing about it, and you think it's funny?
And not only that, you can't shoot somebody for simply breaking into your home. Not the way our California laws are written.
Well, I agree.
We can take that even further, right?
Yeah. But the idea, I thought it was very reminiscent of when Tulsi Gabbard when she said, hey, you laughed about smoking pot in an interview. Meanwhile, you put hundreds or thousands of people away for smoking pot.
Right.
Totally hypocritical.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is our that. This is our that. So I encourage everybody out there to ask that question. Make the memes. Make a video. Talk about it. Put it on your Facebook. It's a good opportunity to explain that she is anti-gun. In fact, she enacted a handgun ban. And it's not funny. We all want to defend ourselves. We all want to protect ourselves. And you pandering to the gun crowd, meanwhile not complying with laws that that you're forcing on us. It's about as offensive as it gets.
I have to say really quickly.
Sure.
Speaking about misspeaking.
Yeah.
I imagine you caught it, but I just got to throw it out there. Walz made a statement about how he's friends with school shooters.
Yeah. What do you think? I didn't.
So I think that would just right along with the misspeaking or the whole memorization issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I mixed up my words.
Right.
Yeah.
What he meant was victims.
Right. I'm assuming that's what he meant. Correct.
I hope, but I mean, I don't know. I was seeing some talking heads that I really respect try to get a lot of mileage out of that. Come on. There's some really legitimate things that you can criticize Walz on that I think are more influential, So
I was just expecting he would have made a correction or would have, addressed it, and he didn't.
That would be funny. Maybe we should force that. Like, hey, could you please clarify, like, which school shooters, which ones do you like? Yeah. Which one's your favorite? Which school shooter's your favorite? Could you let us know? Because you said, I don't know, maybe using it that way would be kind of effective. But anyway. Brendan, do we have time for one more clip, or do we got to go to break?
We're running a little late on break, but if you want me to play the clip, we could play the clip.
Let's go to break. We'll come back. I'm going to show you they're actually finally making fun of Harris on Saturday Night Live, and I just wanted to play that clip real quick. But then we're going to talk to Sam the Gunman. We got a good question for him. So after this break, we'll talk to you on more Gun Owners Radio. All right. Dave had to go catch a flight, by the way. That's why you're not hearing him in the second half. So go for it, Alisha. Without further ado.
Safe travels to Dave. Yeah. So up next, we have Seal 1, and it gets compared to Frog Lube a lot. Well, but they are different, very different. With Frog Lube, you need a degreasing solvent, a lubricant, and a protectant. How many different types of Frog Lube do you really need? Well, if you ask me, that's just too much. Way more work than it needs to be. With Seal 1, it's just one and done, one product. Wipe it on, wipe it off, and you're done. Buy some now at seal1.com.
Seal 1. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Thank you, Dwight, for being a sponsor. I'll tell you what, I do want to play that little clip from SNL because it is kind of funny and it's kind of entertaining. But let's bring Sam on. Sam, how you doing, man?
A little under the weather, but could be a lot worse.
All right. Well, let's see if we can lighten up your day. I'm sorry you're not feeling well. So it's very rare. Saturday Night Live. I used to watch Saturday Night Live since I was, little. I remember watching Saturday Night Live when I was, I'm going to say like 5.
Knee-high to a grasshopper?
Yeah. Like early 80s. Uh-huh. And then late 80s and 90s, I didn't miss an episode, man. I remember picking the bars I was going to go to on Saturday night based on whether or not they had a TV. I'd like kind of hey, wait a minute, I got to watch. I was a big fan. I was a big fan of comedy. The 80s and 90s, of course, were big comedy, stand-up, whatever. I adore Norm Macdonald with a passion.
Oh, yeah.
I just absolutely am in love with Norm. I miss him so much. So I'm a fan of SNL. I stopped watching a few years ago because I loved it when they would make fun of presidents and people in power. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Bush, Reagan, Clinton. But something changed with Trump, and it just wasn't funny anymore. It just wasn't funny. What they were doing was just kind of raging rather than doing comedy. So I thought this was interesting. Go ahead and play the SNL clip. Brendan. Go ahead, Brendan. When you're ready.
How much do I love that man? We share a beautiful life in a beautiful home. And if you try to enter my home, I will shoot you. Viewers from New York and California, please close your ears. I have a gun. How much?
Okay, so, they were clearly poking fun at her. I mean, that was, they were basically pointing out the fact that she was pandering, and I thought that was a little bit of a shift, and I'm glad to see it. I don't want to watch a political show. I want to watch a comedy show. So I thought that was kind of funny that they poked fun at her finally. And I don't know what that means. Hopefully it keeps up and it's not just a one-time thing. So I don't know. Sam, you SNL guy?
No, not really a huge fan. I think that might just be a generational thing, though.
Did you watch the debates?
Heck no.
Wait a minute. Let's go back to the generational thing. That felt like Sam just called me old. Is that where that? What do you mean? It's a generational thing. Your generation doesn't like SNL. That's more for the old guys.
I don't know. I don't think so. This is a tough question. Can I pass on this one?
Great. All right. You know what? Let's move on to the trivia question.
On a little bit more serious note, some of you listening may be aware that my degree is in international affairs, and so that has certainly taught me to be very jaded about all things political. And so the more I can avoid people shouting and yelling at each other about politics, the better.
You're a wise beyond your years, Sam.
I think I agree. Your grandfather was at the debate with me here in San Diego. We went and watched it in a movie theater. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you want to read the questions?
Sure.
This is Sam the Gunman, everybody's favorite Sam the Gunman, and this comes from
Rick from Chula Vista. All right.
Go for it.
Question is, what does the 7 signify in the AR7?
Oh, good question. What does the 7 signify in AR7?
Rick from beautiful Chula Vista, thanks very much for writing in. I'm pretty sure Chula Vista is a real place.
It is.
What does the 7 in AR7 signify? This is one of those funny ones. I'm trying to figure out a funny way to lead into the answer, but I really can't. The short version is it's the 7th firearm designed at Armalite. There's no special significance. There's no special secret hidden meaning. It's the same thing with Glock models. Like, oh, why is the Glock 40 a 10 millimeter and why is the Glock 38 not 38 caliber and blah blah blah? It's because the model numbers are numbered sequentially, starting with 17. That was Glock's 17th patent. The AR7 was the seventh firearm designed at Armalite. Likewise, the AR10 was the 10th. The AR15 was the 15th. The AR18 was the 18th. The AR25 was the 25th, and so on and so forth.
That's actually the answer. I know this person gave a slightly different answer.
Right, I think Sam's right.
Yeah, it's a slightly different answer, and I'll tell you what. Rick from Chula Vista will talk about it. It's the model number as far he writes. It's the model number as far as we can tell. 7 was arbitrarily chosen as the model number. There's no AR6 or no AR8. Now there is no AR6. There is no
Correct.
AR8.
That just means that they chose not to proceed forward with
but
that.
it wasn't arbitrary.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. I trying to think of other examples.
So, same thing.
But first off, by the way,
Glock doesn't have a model for every number.
Yeah, there's not a Glock 1 or it
they'll
was
do a
the
design.
17th.
Sometimes they don't work out and they scrap it and they move on to the next design.
What was the what is an AR7? Tell everybody what an AR7 is first off.
Well, just real quick, going to the other examples. Armalite had, for example, like an AR-12 and an AR-16, but you've never heard of those because they weren't ever produced. They were designed, but they weren't ever produced. And I would suspect that would be the same with the AR-6 and the AR-8. They started at AR-1 and counted up from there. And in fact, the AR-1 introduced a lot of technologies that were later found on the AR-7, the AR-10, the AR-15, et cetera. The AR-7 is now, you can actually still buy it. It's not sold by Armalite, but then again, the current Armalite isn't Armalite either, so 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's sold as the Henry U.S. Survival Rifle.
There it is.
And that name belies its purpose. It was intended, like its predecessor, the AR-5, to be an aircrew survival weapon for downed pilots. And the neat trick with the AR-7 is that it's a takedown rifle that you can fit all inside its stock. You unscrew the barrel from the action just with a hand screw. it's a semi-auto 22 LR, so there's not really a whole lot of pressure it has to withstand. You take the magazine out, you cram the receiver, the barrel, and the magazine, and a spare magazine if you have one, inside specially cut holes in the stock, which is partially hollow, and then you put a plastic butt pad back over it. It's not completely waterproof. It doesn't form a perfect seal, but it is mostly watertight, and it is designed to float.
Yeah,
so
it
that
floats.
helps if you're on a canoe trip.
I think the new one seems a little bit bigger than the old ones. Feels a little bulkier, like 5% bigger. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Hey, another interesting little why is the number out of sync is I think I've actually said this on the show before, but I'll try again. So there is a SEAL Team 8 and a SEAL Team 10. Why is there no SEAL Team 9? Do you know that answer?
I don't know about SEAL Team 9, but I remember reading somewhere that SEAL Team 6 was numbered before there were 5 other SEAL teams, so as to sound like there were more than there really were. And this isn't an uncommon thing for military units to do, but I don't know about 8 and 10.
So that's why. So there was SEAL Team 1 and SEAL Team 2. 2 was on the East Coast, 1 was on the West Coast. And then they came up with SEAL Team 6, and they named it 6 because exactly that. The actual given reason was they were trying to confuse the Russians. So they have 3. But SEAL Team 6 actually has a different mission. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same mission as SEAL Team 1 and SEAL Team 2. So they wanted to add some SEAL teams, and they came up with – so there's – they wanted to have equal number on East Coast and equal number on West Coast. So you have 1, 3, 5, and 7. So that's 4, okay? And then you have 2, 4, 8, and 10. That's 4. So there's no 9. So because they had SEAL Team 6 prior to coming up with the idea of having, all these teams, it threw off the numbering. So if you ever meet somebody who said he served in SEAL Team 9, he's lying.
Well, more importantly, if you ever meet someone who said he was in SEAL Team 9, tell Don Shipley.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Who we interviewed. All right. Awesome job, Sam. Sam the Gunman. Very good. You did a really good job. Rick from Chula Vista. If you... I think you nailed it. If you disagree with us... we'll just have to arm wrestle over it. Email me and we'll talk about it. We're going to send you a hat or a shirt or whatever. And if you really, really make a compelling argument, we'll do something special for you. All right.
It's difficult to prove a negative.
It is difficult to prove a negative. So.
Really quick. We have a super chat to thank. We have a one from Ghost Hammer as well as Mike White.
Thank you, Mike White, and thank you, Ghost Hammer. Ghost Hammer, you're going to have to tell me if you ended up buying that watch that you and I were talking about from what's the belt company? Core. Yeah, you have to let me know if you ended up buying that Core watch that you and I were talking about. So anyway, all right, let's go to commercial. And we have a big announcement in the next segment. So stay tuned and we'll tell you what's going on. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening. Truly appreciate all the listeners, all the viewers for Gun Owners Radio. And we do have an announcement. This is episode 426. 426. Now, if you divide 426 by, 52? We've been on for 8 years. 8 years. And it's been awesome. It's been very, very cool. It started out as an idea that Lance Pelkey had, and he and I and Dave Stahl went and had breakfast at the Studio Diner about 8 years ago, and they said, hey, we have this idea for a 1-hour show, and I had no idea. That was never part of the plan. A radio show was never part of the San Diego County Gun Owners plan. And I had no idea. I'd never been on the radio before, except I'd been interviewed by a couple people. That's totally different. And I remember the first year, I was just staring at Dave Stahl. I didn't know what to say. But I thought, I better say something. And at first, they were just like, look, we want to do a gun show. We got to, have a gun guy on there. We want to do, reviews and whatnot. And a lot has changed in those 8 years. We've had a lot of really great people come through there. I don't even remember when. I don't remember how many years ago. Rich came and said, "Hey, I want to help," and he became the producer, and he made the show so much better, so much more polished, so more, with a little bit more of a purpose. But I got to tell you, the one person I got to thank 100% is Dave Stahl. He's been so passionate and generous and wonderful, and I just appreciate him all to heck. And Dave, thank you so much. And the big change is we are going to a podcast format. So we're actually not going to be on 96.1 or 1170 AM. We're going to be at a podcast format. And now it's different, but honestly, not that different. You're still going to be able to watch Gun Owners Radio over YouTube. We're still going to, stream it so you can see it live. We're going to move it up an hour, back an hour. We're going to move it back an hour. So we're going to start 1 hour later, which I think is better for people's schedules, frankly. I get a lot of feedback from people that say, hey, 4 o'clock is just, it's just early enough that it's, but if we start at 5 and end at 7 or so. The format of the show is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be, but we're still going to do the same things. We're going to talk a lot more about some of the lawsuits and laws that are happening. We're going to have a whole section for that. We're going to do interviews that are a little bit more what Rich calls them more long form interviews, which means that it's not, quick, like, well, what about this? What about that? Great. Got to go to a commercial. Thanks. It's going to be a little bit more in depth, a little bit more conversational. But the change is going to be good. We're going to be really, really happy with everything. And, I just, again, thank Dave Stahl. Thank you so much. I wish you could have been here. He's got to go catch a plane. So I had to leave early. But we wanted to let you know. We wanted to let you know what was going on. So next, and then it's going to be on podcast provider just exactly the same way. It's going to be Gun Owners Radio, same logo. Me and Alisha, we can't wait. We're actually going to be broadcasting from a hidden location in the depths and bowels of Discount Gun Mart. We're going to have our own little podcast room, and thank you so much, JB and Discount Gun Mart, for hosting us and letting us hide out there. But I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Our first guest will be next Sunday. Again, start time is at 5 p.m. Just go to youtube.com/gunownersradio, and you'll be able to watch us live. And our first guest is going to be Adam Kraut. He's the executive director for Second Amendment Foundation, SAF. He's going to come on, and we're going to have a nice conversation about all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to have more curtain calls.
That's it.
Yeah, so you're going to talk more about defensive gun use. I do get a lot of feedback about that. People want that information out there.
Yeah, I think, like, for example, in CCW classes, I think there's so much more that we get knowledge-wise that's helpful and beneficial, so much more so than just the legal, verbose stuff. I mean, we got to cover everything. However, I feel like there's so much value in that realistic side of it that, you see it, you see examples of use of force, and it really starts to get you thinking like, wow, that's how things could go down. And it really allows you to kind of start formulating a Rolodex of options. Yeah. So, yeah.
So we're gonna have a curtain call every show, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. Sam the Gunman is going to come on and talk trivia with us, and we're going to do we might broaden things out. I think is maybe the best way to explain it. We might broaden things out a little bit and talk a little bit more about some current events, a little bit maybe beyond strict Second Amendment. We might talk a little bit broader, but we have some interesting guests lined up, and it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, I thank all of you so much. I really don't think most of you are even going to notice a difference. I think, you're going to watch it on YouTube like you watch it on YouTube. You're going to listen to it on Spotify like you listen to it on Spotify. And that'll be that. You're not even going to notice. You'll notice that the set looks a little bit different. But I think that the big thing you're going to notice, and I think that it's going to leave an enormous hole, is that Dave Stahl won't be there, unfortunately, which, again, I know we're all going to miss Dave very much, and I am so appreciative of everything Dave has done and everything that he continues to do when it comes to Gun Owners Radio and San Diego County gun owners, and especially Not Me. Gosh, is he a champion of Not Me. So thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate the heck out of you, and you will be missed, and I'm going to miss spending a couple hours with you every Sunday. You're such a good guy, such a gentleman, and just appreciate the heck out of you. And I just wish you nothing but the very best. So anyway, we wanted to let you know, wanted to tell you, I can't, I don't want to make a big deal out of it because it's for the listener experience. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that they're going to continue. It'll be an hour later is the biggest difference in your life. And you're going to hear fewer commercials.
That's it.
So hopefully this will all be better for you.
Yeah, I'm going to miss Dave, though.
He's
an awesome guy.
He's an awesome guy.
But he's replacing it with some good content. So
good.
If you're stuck to that radio and you don't want to go online, you're going to have some great Dave content too.
Yeah, Dave's the absolute
Dave will be
best.
Here. Yep.
He's the absolute best. So that's that, man. That's the whole show. Next episode, of course, will be 427, if I'm reading that right. I didn't put my glasses on to read it. So we're going to keep rolling. But, this month, it's really like, I just kind of said November 1st, but November 1st is the 9th anniversary of San Diego County Gun Owners. And I didn't realize that we started Gun Owners Radio so quickly after starting San Diego County Gun Owners. I think at the time it was Gun Sports Radio. Mm-hmm. And then we changed the name to Gun Owners Radio and had the logo to where it looked a lot more like, San Diego County Gun Owners. But I didn't realize it was like the first year. Mm-hmm. I thought we were like a couple years into it. So this has been a major part of activities and coming here and doing the show every Sunday for a couple hours and trying to get elected officials on tape and interviewing people and getting people more involved. And it's been fun and it's been amazing and it's been an important thing. So we're going to continue that, and we couldn't do it without all the listeners. So thank you, everybody, particularly all the folks that chat with us and show up and have fun. So, yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Alisha?
Well, it's a new adventure, right? And I don't know, just looking forward to see what's ahead, right?
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
The other part is you're going to see a lot more messaging coming from Gun Owners Radio in general. There are 3 PACs and a 501c3. There's San Diego County Gun Owners, there's Orange County Gun Owners, there's Inland Empire Gun Owners. And there's Not Me California, which is our 501c3 that does a couple of things, but the main purpose is to support our women's program. And you might be on one of those lists, you might be on all those lists, but rather than be as fractured or as separate as we are, I think that Gun Owners Radio is going to it's going to be a good idea for us to make Gun Owners Radio the mouthpiece of all the organizations. You're going to start seeing a change in the way we communicate and where the communications come from, and I think it'll be more thorough, and I think you guys are all going to like it very much. So thank you, everybody, so much. Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.